Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new to my channel, my name is Kristine and I'm currently a professional dancer on board Royal Caribbean's Ovation of the Seas in the theater cast. I wanted to do a little updated Q&A for all of my new subscribers and my new friends here, or even plenty of old subscribers that have been sticking around since my last contract. Wanted to give you guys a life update and just answer some of your frequently asked questions that I've gotten since I've gotten on board. So I am currently on my second week on board. We are still in the process of install. I have a whole video coming out about install and what that's like, so stay tuned for that. But it is a very overwhelming and exhausting process. We just finished opening Live Love Legs and installing that onto the ship, and not gonna lie, it was extremely mentally, emotionally, physically taxing on my body. I didn't even want to film all week just because there was so much going on through that whole install process. But now that we're open with Live Love Legs, we are now opening the Beautiful Dream this week, which is super exciting. And yeah, it's just been a whole lot of install and dance and shows consuming me since I've gotten on board. I still have really barely explored New Zealand. I got a lot of questions about the ports coming up and things like that, but obviously I don't really know since I haven't really been able to get off the ship just yet. Yeah, that's where we're at right now. That's my little update of how ship life has been so far. My roommate Eve and I just moved into our permanent cabin for the contract because we were in ECC cabins before. I can't lie, this cabin is smaller than my previous ship cabin, even though that one was also very small, but it's all right. We're making the most of it and we're gonna make it very homey. And stay tuned for a room tour. I've been getting tons of DMs and comments of people who want to see a cabin tour, but we only just moved in, so we still need to make it homey, decorate, add some storage, and I'll give you a room tour once it's ready. I asked you guys on my Instagram to send me some questions of anything you really want to know about me, about ship life, about dance, about my shows. And so if you don't already follow my Instagram, now is the perfect opportunity because I will be doing this again sometime soon. All right, let's get started with the Q&A and answering your questions. First question, how long is your contract? My current contract is 10 months. It varies between dancers, between ships, between what your job is on board. But for me, on this contract, we had 2 months in Miami and then 8 months on the ship. What extra duties do you have as a dancer on board? So believe it or not, obviously most guests just see us perform in the shows, but we have drills every week. We have muster, which is the safety briefing of the guests when they come on board. We do box office, which is booking people into watching usually the 270 show. On this ship, the dancers are also in charge of doing spots in the 270 show, which is the venue that is across the ship from the theater. And I've actually still not done my spots shift yet for the first time, so I've never done it, but basically we just have to spotlight those shows. Also, when we're in rehearsals, you can apply for extra jobs. So there's obviously dance captain, company manager, vocal captain, etc. You can also apply to do wardrobe and wigs, which means maintaining the costumes backstage and all the behind the scenes stuff. Props as well. There are so many extra jobs you can do around the ship. You can also work Wi-Fi for extra Wi-Fi minutes or port shopping for some extra money in your pocket. But to answer your question, yes, we do have plenty of extra duties to do on board as well as performing shows. Do you work every single day and how often do you perform shows? We are currently on a very long run of working and putting these shows together with rehearsals and install. I'm pretty sure the last day we had off was our travel day, which was not really a day off because we traveled 36 hours to get here. This goes for any job and anyone who has to travel to get on the ship, but sometimes you're very jet lagged and you get on the ship and start working immediately. So we have been going full out dancing while your brain still has no idea what time it is, and it has been very, very challenging. So currently we have been working every single day, but the rehearsal and install process, I always say, is the hardest part of this job because since we're on board for so long, once we get into a routine, it gets a lot easier and we have a lot more time to spare. Compared to other departments on board, entertainment does have a lot more time off. We have time to get off in ports and stuff like that, but don't be fooled, we have not been able to do that the past few weeks. So even though right now we are working every single day, we know that eventually throughout the contract we won't be working every single day once we've installed the shows and get into a routine. To answer your question of how often we perform shows, we either do 2 or 3 shows of each show that we have per cruise. So for example, on Ovation we have Live Love Legs and the Beautiful Dream. Those are our 2 production shows. The guests will have the opportunity to watch both shows while they are on board, but we either have 2 show nights, which means we do 2 shows of Live Love Legs and then 2 shows of The Beautiful Dream, or sometimes we have 3 shows, which means we have 2 shows of Live Love Legs, 1 the next day, and then 2 shows of Beautiful Dream, 1 the next day. So it varies between 2 to 4 show nights a cruise. Are Ovation shows harder than your previous contract? This is kind of a hard question to answer because it completely depends on the dancer and the track that you are in the show. Your track is your spot in the show, and so that is the amount of numbers you are, where you are in the numbers, what costumes you have, etc, etc. There are so many different production shows under Royal Caribbean, and so there's some shows that are extremely boy heavy and the boys have harder tracks, but then there's also some that are very girl heavy. Singers also have difficult tracks, so it really just depends on the performer. For me personally, in my track as Kristine Kugler, the dancer, my hardest show has been Showgirl, which was on the Odyssey of the Seas. Only because I've just gotten on board. I'm not bold enough to say it's my favorite show ever, but it does really hold a special place in my heart, and that show really challenged me. Showgirl really challenged me as a performer and as a person. I feel like I really grew throughout a contract of performing that show. What's something you wish could be changed about crew life? I will say I really do love crew life on board. I love ship life, and that's why I'm here doing it. The only thing I feel a shift on is the education that departments have on different departments. The dancers and performers get a lot of slack for not working and having so many days off and always being able to go party and vacation while everyone else is on the ship working. I do understand it could come off like that to a lot of people, and especially people on the outside just watching our Instagram feed and seeing that we're doing all these fun things. A lot of people don't understand how much it takes and how much we've devoted our lives into this sport or this career that we could hopefully achieve one day. A lot of people don't see the behind the scenes and the amount of work that goes into even getting this job, and then once we're in this job, keeping it, staying in shape to perform shows for 10 months at a time. I've often talked to people from different departments who don't even know that we go to rehearsals in Miami and that we have that whole experience before we get onto the ship. So I do feel like there's a lack of knowledge on board about different departments and what goes into each job. And that's also vice versa. I don't really know what goes on behind the scenes of other departments that are not under entertainment, and I would love to know more about that. I'm gonna be honest, I don't have a solution. I don't know how that could be fixed. It's just something that I really notice about crew life, and something that really divides departments is that we're not knowledgeable on each other's different jobs. What do you do on your spare time, and do you ever get bored on the ship? Lots of people will admit that ship life can get boring at times, especially once you're settled into a routine and it feels like there's not much new things to do. But I will say, growing up, my parents never let me say that I was bored. They said there's always something to do. You can always learn a new skill, find something that needs to be done. I always try to take that mindset with me, so I feel like I never personally get bored of ship life. I have millions of books that I want to read in the world. I'm actually overwhelmed with how many books I want to read and how short of life I have to read them all, but that's just an internal crisis. I also love going to the gym and walking the track and working on my fitness. And also, if I'm not reading, I have these videos that I love to make. I love brainstorming new videos, editing, filming, creating thumbnails. Yeah, making videos is just the best hobby to have on the ship for me, and I love doing it, so therefore I never really feel like I'm bored because I always feel like there's something else to do. But I do recommend, if you're ever going to live on a ship, bring a hobby with you, whether it's playing instruments, whether it's knitting, reading, painting, drawing, whatever it is. I feel like everyone should have a hobby that they go to if they ever feel bored on the ship. If it ever feels like there's nothing to do in crew life, you can also think about all the life that's happening in guest area. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it because we might just be living in crew quarters and not really going out in guest areas, but there is really always something happening, and if you're really ever that bored, you can always just go into guest area and enjoy what the guests are doing. That sounds bad because obviously we're not guests and we're not supposed to be doing a bunch of guest activities, but for example, if there's a show, we're allowed to go to shows. We can go enjoy what the guests are enjoying for the night. I also am definitely way more bored while I'm at home than when I'm on a ship. The perfect follow-along question to that is, where are you allowed to go on the ship? It really depends per job. There is a giant matrix that explains what stripes can go to which places and what your privileges are. For me personally, as a performer, I'm able to roam around a lot of the guest areas. There are so many rules attached to everything we do on board, and sometimes there are so many rules that it just discourages you from doing anything out in guest areas. We have to obviously be in dress code, so we're either in uniform or we're dressed in smart casual, or if it's formal night, we're basically allowed to enjoy guest guest areas, but without ever inhibiting the experience of the guest. So for example, if we wanted to go watch a show but it is full and there are guests standing in the back, we are absolutely not allowed to sit down. I'm gonna be honest, there's arguments to both sides of the stories, because if you're a guest paying thousands of dollars to come cruise and you're watching crew members sit down watching a show, then I could see how that's a bit discouraging because you are the one that is the paying customer. But also as a crew member, sometimes it does feel like we're not able to be real humans because we just want to go enjoy a show. And we have to wear our name badges everywhere we go, so it does just kind of feel like you're on display and there's always a spotlight on you, so you can't ever do anything wrong. We are absolutely never allowed to be on our phone in guest area. If there is a guest behind you in line, the polite thing to do is let them go ahead because you are a crew member. But yeah, just the rules like that kind of discourage people to go out into guest areas because there are so many rules attached. But also, we are blessed to be here, and if there's a reservation available at a restaurant, we're allowed to go enjoy that. We're also getting paid to live on this vessel, so there are pros and cons to everything, and it is nice that in my rank I am allowed to go in guest area. How do you deal with rockiness while performing shows, and do you ever get seasick? The very blunt answer is you just have to deal with it. We're professional dancers. We are hired to live on a cruise ship and perform on a cruise ship, and if it's rocky, oh well, suck it up. You still gotta perform. One of my friends last contract said it was always super fun to perform a rocky show because you never really know what's gonna happen. And that is just the reality of it. We are on a moving ship and we have to dance and run up and down stairs and dance full out and jump and kick and hip bump all around the stage. Yeah, that's just the blunt answer. You just gotta deal with it. You just gotta dance. I should probably know this, but I think we're sailing the Tasman Sea right now, and it has been so rocky. Every single day we've been on board, and especially on the sea days. A normal day at sea on Ovation would have been an extremely rocky day on Odyssey, so I am still getting used to the rockiness of this ship. Surprisingly, I have not gotten seasick at all. If I ever do get seasick, it's more just like brain fog, nausea, and queasiness. It's not really like I can't go on with my day. I still have to dance or do my daily duties on board if I feel like that. Knock on wood, no one in the cast has gotten seasick yet, but you never really know. It happens at the most random times, and sometimes on days that aren't even the rockiest. What's your favorite part about ship life? The traveling and the people on board. If you know anything about me or follow my channel at all, you know that I am so passionate about traveling and just exploring the world, and especially in my young 20s, that's all I want to do is see as much of the world as I possibly can. And so having a job where I can do that and also do what I love is the biggest blessing, and I don't take that for granted at all. I'm so blessed that I've been able to travel to so many places that I may have never seen if it wasn't for this career. And the people on board, I could get emotional right now thinking about how amazing the people around me are, and the connections I've formed with the people that I work with and live with on a cruise ship traveling the world together are just memories that I never take for granted, and those are friendships that mean the world to me. I've spoken about this before, but it is very hard once we go home and our friends are scattered all around the world, but at the same time I would have never met them if it wasn't for this career and living on a ship together. We become like family, and we have come from such different backgrounds and we mix so well together, and it's just one of the biggest blessings of my life is the people that I've met while doing this job. Can you realistically keep a routine on a ship? Yes, you absolutely can. I think especially once we finish install, it'll be so much easier to develop a routine. If you have the same or similar itinerary and especially length of cruises, you definitely do get in a routine because you know, day one I usually do this, day two I do this, in the morning I have this routine, in the night I do this routine. I feel like it is healthy to have a routine once you're on board because this life is so unpredictable and things change at the last second all the time. So trying to find something stable for yourself on board is very important. What do you miss most about life on land while you're on board? I've talked about this before as well, but accessibility to anything. Wi-Fi, going to the store, grabbing something you need, craving the food that you want and going to be able to get it. Just the accessibility to anything, and once you're quote-unquote trapped on a ship, it's hard to have access to everything whenever you want. Which are you most excited for, Australia season or Alaska season? For me personally, I'm more excited about this New Zealand Australia itinerary because I have been to Alaska once before as a guest, and Australia and New Zealand is literally somewhere that I have never explored in the world, and I would have never probably traveled travel to if it wasn't for this job. So I'm super excited to see this part of the world, and I'd love to get to know these ports and get to know the culture around here. What are some of your dream destinations? Okay, I have so many, and this list grows every single day and changes order every single day. But some of my absolute top places I want to visit is Paris, Switzerland, Positano. Those are like my top 3 next places I want to travel to. Since you get to know people from all over the world and listen to their experiences, they've also inspired me to want to go to some other places. So many of my friends are from different areas of Australia, so I'd love to travel around Australia myself, not on a cruise ship, just to tour Australia. I really want to go to Melbourne and the Gold Coast and Brisbane. I also want to explore more of Sydney. I just would really love to explore more of Australia. My roommate is from Scotland, so she's told me all about Edinburgh, and I really want to visit her there. And so many of my friends have done Asia contracts and just always speak about how amazing Thailand is, and so I do really want to go to Thailand. What is your favorite port you've ever been to? So far, I would say probably Sorrento. Sorrento really holds a special place in my heart. We used to port in Naples, but I would take the ferry over to Sorrento, and those days were just so special to me. Another port that was very special to me was Marseille. I just had the most amazing day when I was there in France. We only ported there one time, but it was such a special day to me. And just to throw in a Caribbean port that was my absolute favorite was Grand Cayman. Those beaches are unmatched. The 7 Mile Beach is just stunning. I could be there for the rest of my life and be so content. How many countries have you been to? Great question. I actually just counted it up. I've been to 22 countries, and by the end of this contract, I'll hit 25. Are you into sailing in boats as well as cruises? Fun fact, I would love to live on a sailboat. Like, it's actually a life dream of mine. My favorite things to watch on YouTube are sailing videos and sailing families who live on boats. Yeah, I don't know when that would ever come into my life, but if I ever had the opportunity, I would take that up in a heartbeat. I would love to learn more about that life. Where did you go to college and what did you study? If you don't know me already, it's probably gonna come as a shock. I went to Valdosta State University in South Georgia, and I studied business management, and I also have a minor in entrepreneurship. Very different than what I'm actually doing today. Did you always want to perform on ships? Actually, yes. I've always dreamed of dancing on a cruise ship. That was always a vision for me since I was very, very young. I can speak on this more at another time, but basically in my head, I had a whole path figured out for myself and didn't really tell anybody about it, but I knew I was going to do this since the moment I even stepped foot in high school. I already knew I was going to do this. Funny story, I was in an interview for a scholarship when I was going to college, and they asked me, if you could become a professional dancer and you get a contract while you're in school, what would you do? Would you quit school or would you go for your contract? And I said, absolutely, my education is so important for me. I would absolutely never leave school. And I left that meeting and I said, if I had a contract, I would absolutely not be here. But life has a funny way of working out. I'm so glad I went to college and I have a degree now, but it is just really funny. I always knew that this is what I wanted to do. Is there a pay difference between showgirls and dancers? Actually, no, not at all. Showgirls are dancers, and male dancers, female dancers, we all get offered about the same rate. Now that of course varies with how many ships you've done, what ship you're on, what shows you're doing. So obviously I'm getting paid more on my second contract than I did as a new hire, but being a showgirl or a dancer has no factor to do with that. Would you ever work for another cruise line? As of right now, the only other cruise line I would work with is Disney Cruise Line because I'm absolutely obsessed with Disney. I've always dreamed of working for Disney, and that would just be like a life goal accomplished and such a full circle moment for me. But again, life has a funny way of playing out. I never really imagined that I'd be working for Royal. Now that I'm here, I'm really enjoying it, so I'm gonna follow this path as long as I can. And on a personal note, I've always kind of been a bit insecure about my height when it comes to dance because I get turned from a lot of auditions because of my height. Royal really celebrates my height, and the shows that I've been cast in really help me learn to love how tall I am, and I have friends that are taller than me and the same height as me. Feeling empowered in something that I used to feel insecure about has really impacted me in continuing to work for Royal and wanting to continue working for the company. And yeah, that's just me on a personal level, and that's why I want to stick with Royal for right now. Do you have an agent? No, I don't have an agent. I actually really pride myself on it because I got this job completely on my own. Walked into that audition by myself. No one helped me. No one told me when auditions were. I fully did all the research on my own, and now that I have my contract, I did the negotiations and everything on my own, and so now I don't have to pay a penny to anybody except myself. Does the company pay for travel and hotel accommodations for your contract? Yes, they pay for all the travel and lodging and everything it takes to get to the ship. And also for us dancers, while we're in Miami, they cover all of that as well. Do you ever get homesick, and how do you manage being so far away from home? Honestly, no, I don't really get homesick. I do miss my parents all the time, but it's not necessarily being homesick, and I just deal with it by calling them very, very often. I try to call them once a day, and that helps me stay very grounded. But no, I don't really feel homesick because I feel like I do develop my own home and community while I'm on board. I got a ton of questions about auditions, and so if you want me to make an updated kind of how I became a cruise ship dancer video, then I'll do that as well. But I just wanted to answer a few of the audition questions I got. Do you audition for a specific ship? No, I just auditioned for Royal Caribbean, and they cast you into the ship and the shows that they want to put you in. Can you audition if you have tattoos? Yeah, you absolutely can. I personally don't have any tattoos, but many of my friends in the cast do, and they've still been hired by the company, and it never really had any effect. So no, I don't think that matters. The best piece of advice you have for someone wanting to dance on ships? My biggest piece of advice is don't get disappointed, because whatever is meant to be will be. And I know that's easier said than done, but I've been there, and as much as I felt disappointed by getting no's in the past, I'm so grateful now that I'm here that I got those no's back then, because I ended up exactly where I was meant to be. That is always the philosophy I come across. I got a no from Royal when I was 18, and I got this job when I was 22. So you just literally never know what's gonna happen. How long did it take for you to hear back from my audition? For me, it took 4 months. I did not hear a peep from Royal until I got offered the contract, but everyone's different. I know people who have gotten an offer like days later. Lucky them, that would be amazing, but that was not my case. I also know people who've heard back a year later, so you just never know. There's no formula with it. It's just up to casting and what they do. Now I'm gonna answer some personal questions because some people wanted to ask about my life, so here they are. I got a lot of, do you have a boyfriend and are you single? Yes, I am very single actually. I am actually so happy being single. I am so content. It took a long time to have this mindset, but now that I'm here, I am so happy with where I am in life. Of course, there's always ups and downs, but right now I love spending time with myself. I love investing in my friendships, and kind of deep, but in life right now, I feel like I'm placed here right now to invest in the friendships that I have and learn what qualities I love about people, learn what qualities I want to develop in myself, and things that I want to improve about myself to be a better friend, and I'm constantly learning every single day. Also, I have no one holding me back, and until I find someone who will not hold me back, I will probably just stay with the same mindset. But yeah, I am so single and so happy. Do you ever feel like you don't have any personal space on the ship? Yes, all the time. You've always got to take the pros with the cons, because you have friends everywhere you look when you're here. You run into everyone all the time. You want to eat lunch, you'll run into someone. You want to go to the gym, you'll run into 5 more people. So you do run into everybody, which is amazing because you develop a community, but also there are some times when you feel like you've never had a second alone ever. Luckily, I learned that about myself last contract and what I need for myself to recharge and refuel. Ship life has really forced me to get to know myself like that, and now that I know kind of my boundaries and when I like to have my alone time, I have learned to communicate that to the people around me, and also I expect them to communicate that with me as well. I feel like no feelings are hurt when you have open and honest communication. If you're just like, I need a day by myself, they'll give you that day to yourself if they're a good friend. So yeah, I feel like open and honest communication about when you need your personal space is super important, and I'm so lucky. My roommate, Eve, is the most amazing angel on the planet, and I love her so much, but we are both exactly the same, whereas both of us need our alone time. I feel like both of us are so chill, and that's why we work so well together, is because we kind of can give each other space when we know we need space, but also love being around each other. And I think that's a really important balance. What's your favorite genre of music to listen to and dance to? This is all across the board. If you check out my Spotify Wrapped, it says classical music and smooth jazz is my absolute favorite genre, because that's what I love to read to, and so that's all I listen to. But also love Tate McRae, Olivia Rodrigo, Jack Harlow, love those people, Ariana Grande. I love pop, I love worship music, love a little bit of folk. Like, country music, I don't know, I just like a little bit of everything. And my favorite music to dance to, this changes a lot as well, but as of right now it's been a lot of Noah Kahan, folk indie vibe. I've really loved improvising and dancing to that kind of music. Current book you're reading and what's next on your TBR. The current book I'm reading is Conversations on Love by Natasha Lunn. It's a bunch of discussions about different types of relationships and how they impact your life and what they do to teach you about life, and so it's been a really interesting read. I'm really enjoying it. The next book on my TBR is Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. As you guys know, Magnolia Parks is my favorite series of all time, and as soon as that comes out, I'm gonna go try to hunt it down in Australia, and I'm going to find it and I'm gonna read it and I'm gonna be obsessed. So that is the next book I want to read. Plans after you leave cruise life and dance. I have actually no idea. I don't have a single clue. I don't even know what ship I want to do next. I have a few goals that I want to achieve in life, different timelines that I want to achieve them in, but of course I want to get married, have kids, and live that kind of life. Have a home base somewhere. That would be nice to achieve one day, but I'm not expecting that in the near future at all. I think I have this in me for a good while, so I'm gonna try to stick with it as long as I can. You also never know where your goals can be if you put them out there, so I'll tell you two of my really big goals. One of them is to move to London for maybe 6 months or something like that. I just kind of want to explore the London scene, explore the dance scene over there, but also just living life in the UK I think would be amazing for a little while. Don't know how that's gonna happen. Another goal I have, which is quite specific, but I've been thinking about it a lot recently, is to go back to Odyssey as a dancer. I don't even know if that's a possible dream, but I was a showgirl on Odyssey of the Seas and I absolutely loved those shows so much. I feel like I would find so much fulfillment and would challenge myself so much if I was able to go back to that ship and perform those shows in a completely different track as a dancer. I am also right on the height cusp of being a showgirl and dancer, so I feel like it is possible, but that would be like a life goal for me, for sure. At what point will you realize how hard you slay? I don't think I'll ever realize it until you come back in my life because I miss you so much, and that was from Shay. Literally, you already know. Wish you were here, but whatever. I'll see you soon, somewhere in the world. I know I will. Alright, those are most of the questions. I know I did not get to all of them, but I tried to pick out the ones that were frequently asked, and I feel like I really opened up and shared a lot. So hope you guys learned something about ship life or just about me in general. Now it's time to head back to rehearsal, so I'm gonna close out this video, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you got to this point of the video, comment a red heart because I love you guys, and thank you so much for supporting my channel. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Click that bell so you're notified every time I make a new post. Stay tuned for so many new ship videos, and make sure you follow my Instagram to see where I am in the world. And wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having the absolute best day, and I'll see you so soon in the next video. Bye!